and welcome to Season 3 of the NGO Whisperer Show. My name is Carolyne Opinde. I am the founder of the NGO Whisperer. We are a consulting business that provides technical support to nonprofits so they can successfully impact people's lives. Joining us today, the 25th of November, which is actually the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, is gender-based violence advocate, well known in South Africa and around the world, Miss Mara E. Glennie. She's the founder of Tears Foundation. Mara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. We all need to stand together.
It is such an honor and a pleasure on this day when we celebrate the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which is actually part of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who may not know, the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence was started or founded in 1991 by the Women Global Leadership Institute at Rutgers University in the United States of America. And it runs from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, which is the Human Rights Day. We also include the 1st of December, which is the World AIDS Day, as part of this activism, because women and men also who have undergone gender-based violence, specifically sexual assault and rape, are treated for HIV, and that is why World AIDS Day is also considered part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Now, to go into today's topic, Mara, you have over 40 years of experience in this field. How did it all start? Why were you involved from the beginning in the prevention of gender-based violence against women and girls in South Africa?
I started Tears Foundation 10 years ago because I'm a survivor of abuse. And I found that the service, irrespective of where you live, of your age, of your color, of your religion, the service is poor. In fact, in most places in South Africa, the service is non-existent. Because when I went to the police station after being severely abused, I couldn't get the help I wanted, and it took me a very, very long time to recover. Because gender-based violence, or as they call it, intimate partner violence now, which in my case, I've since discovered that most intimate partner violent acts take part or take place when the woman wants to leave the relationship. And no one warns you that that could happen. So you go along and say, I'm leaving, I found another place, or yes, you can leave me, or whatever the scenario is, and suddenly your life is in danger. In South Africa, 6 women a day are killed by intimate partner violence. So I identify with that so very much because I got away with my life. And what I try to do now, every day of my life, is actually help other women navigate the narrow corridors to justice, to get the justice that they need, and to help them navigate their way through this tricky situation. We might, in South Africa, have the best laws that you could possibly have in the world. We have amazing, wonderful laws, but unfortunately, executing them is another whole big story. So I am actively working every day of my life to help women get out of the quagmire of their abuse or rape.
Thank you, Mara. We are honored here at the NGO Whisperer. You are one of our clients and we work together, and I know for sure that you have received accolades and recognition, not just in South Africa, but around the world for the innovative help at your fingertips, which is a way in which people get help. Would you please share with us how that works?
Of course, thank you for asking. So when I was in the police station trying to get help I was desperate. I know most women are desperate. That's why this is such an important, this isn't a job, this is my passion. And I was desperate. So I said to the lady that was helping me, or attempting to help me but couldn't, is there not a place that I can go to for help? And she said, this was Friday afternoon, you'll have to come back on Monday morning. My heart sank. I was ashamed. I was hurt emotionally. I was hurt physically. I was hopeless. I wanted to die. And there I was getting turned away. She didn't know where to send me. So what I decided to do when I recovered from my abuse, which took a very long time, I decided that I would create a platform of a service that would give anybody for free, wherever they were in South Africa, a list of the nearest 3 places where they could go to for help. So I developed a service, and because I worked in the townships for so many years, and because I understand that in that moment where you're fleeing for your life, you probably don't have a phone with money on it, or you don't have money to pay for something. So I developed a free service that uses USSD, that works on any phone anywhere in South Africa. And in fact, recent statistics have shown me that people from Namibia and Botswana also access that helpline number. And what it simply does is you dial our number, and it sends you back free the 3 nearest places to you where you can go for help. And after running that for about 2 years, and as you correctly said, Caroline, we have been acknowledged with awards, which actually, my award really is somebody who gets out of an abusive situation, but it is nice to be recognized for your service. So about 2 years ago, we tied up with an organization called NAMOLA, and NAMOLA is a help service. So if your life is in danger, you can say, I need immediate help, and they will send someone to help you. So during the 16 days of activism that are coming up between now and Christmas, as you correctly mentioned, we will also be offering a bystander intervention where security companies will send out security people to help you. If you call and you say your life's in danger, someone's going to come to your door. Which is absolutely such an exciting thing for us. And I hope it's the beginning of a very long relationship with those security companies. So it will be not only the police that are called, it could be a security company that knocks on your door and gives you the help. And that's one of the things that I really love about this field, is that although we do not get the help that we need financially and emotionally, with the inroads that we are making into the market, slowly people are standing up and understanding that they have to play their role.
That is amazing to hear that you are partnering with a security guard company to reach out to your clients and to work with clients or the callers who request for support through the Help at Your Fingertips helpline. That is amazing. I know most recently, in fact, last week, we had Lillian Barnard, the managing director of Microsoft South Africa, who again partnered with you to develop apps and strengthen the work that you do in the field. I am looking forward to what that will bring in terms of elimination of gender-based violence in South Africa, in terms of preventing it, rebuilding, and providing immediate help to those who need it. Now, Mara, I know you are the queen of partnership and you partner with great organizations. In this 16 Days of Activism campaign, as we all know, the UN Unite gives us the theme for the year. And this year, the theme is Orange the World, Fund, Respond, Prevent, Collect. What does this mean for you as an organization that is at the forefront of doing this, not just during the 16 Days of Activism, but this is your life for over 30 years? This is what you've been doing before you even founded Tears. What does this mean to you?
Well, I think one of the amazing things about that call is the very first word, fund, because this is the most unfunded sector of society in South Africa, but I understand around the world. People don't want to fund rape and abuse. And sometimes makes me feel extremely despondent and cynical. So any of you that is watching this program and seeing Carolyne, you know, when I started Tears, I have a master's degree in marketing, and I thought, well, I will get out there and rock it, and I will knock on doors and get funding. Guess what? My plans didn't work out. It does not work like that. You need someone like Carolyne in your life who can tell you the manner in which funders want it to be written, because it doesn't mean, hi, I help people. They want it all written down in a format which I wasn't used to doing. So Carolyne held my hand. So anyway, back to the funding aspect of it. It's very important that organizations fund the development and assistance of rape victims and rape centers without feeling they have to have a benefit for their organization. You know, if you're a rape victim or a gender-based violence person that's been hurt, it is very hard to come out and tell people, I was ashamed for 10 years. Imagine, for 10 years, I couldn't tell anybody I'd been abused without crying because I hadn't had healing yet. And I didn't realize how it affected every single aspect of my life. So we can't say I'm funding this person because she or he has been raped and abused, and now they'll be on the front page of our annual report as we've helped 50 rape victims. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't work like that. This needs to be an act of your heart. This needs to be a commitment to women. If you just do the sums, most countries have more than 50% of women in their workforce. And if the world statistic, which I think is 1 in 4, in South Africa it's 1 in 3 women are raped, just do the sum about the number of women working in your organization who've experienced some sort of abuse, and help them, put in systems in your company, put in systems in your funding, that even if it isn't the most sexy project to fund, it is the most meaningful. People get up every day and go to work hurt. They go to work, they drag themselves to work. I get many calls of companies phoning and saying, she was such a bright star, but you know, I really am going to do a disciplinary because her work's fallen off. And I'm like, have you checked what's changed in her home environment? Is she getting enough money? Is her husband abusing her? And whilst I know not every abuser is a man or a husband, generally speaking, the demographics tell us that most abusers are men. And so we need to be more caring of our staff. If people's performance has failed, it's because there's something wrong in their life. They haven't just gone off your company or their situation. They are battling to cope. And because we don't recognize the need and we de-escalate our funding, I'm going to explain what I mean by that. You go to the personnel, if you go to the marketing director of an organization, and you say, I would like you please to consider funding gender-based violence. They'll say, wow, that's a very good cause. I will give it to the marketing manager. And you will then do a presentation to the marketing manager, and he'll say, I'm seeing you because Mr. X said I needed to see you. And I will submit a report to him. But in that report, he'll say, I have passed this on to the personnel department. And then the personnel department, the director or manager will say, I will give this to the personnel clerk because he or she is closer to the people. And right at the bottom of the barrier, you will find none of those people have discretionary allowance ability. In other words, not one of them can sign the check. So in other words, you're being fobbed off. And gender-based violence has a secondary situation in most funding bills. It is fobbed off to the lowest possible person so that they can't say they didn't attend to it, but in fact, they didn't attend it. Whereas the marketing director or managing director could say, yes, let's give X percentage of our budget to this cause and back it personally. And so for me to have funding at the top of their criteria, yay, yes, we need funding. Secondly, I have to say, I'm so sad to sit here and tell you that there are many rape organizations in South Africa that are shutting because they cannot keep their doors open. And why? Because people stand at Parliament, national and local, and promise that they are going to underwrite gender-based violence. And when the time comes, they don't have any money in the kitty, or they don't write the check, or they don't help. So why should organizations similar to mine be shutting simply because of lack of funds? But yet, on record, for everybody to read or hear, our promises. So I call out to all of our people that are watching, honor your promises, because we need money to help people. And so that first point of the United Nations is probably for me the most valid point of the entire charter for this year. You need to step up and fund organizations like ours. And there are many around the world and in our country. Just Google it, look it up. Because if you don't know where your nearest place is, how are you going to help someone if they've been raped or abused? It's your job to find out where your nearest organization is and send volunteers. Offer to volunteer. What do they need? They need anything. We need things all the time. We were going to a function on Saturday. We needed someone to come with us and help us with the logistics. It's not all about counseling and meeting the bad realities of our world. It can be other volunteering, updating the database, packing comfort bags. And it mustn't be that you deserve a pat on the back. That is your civic duty. Stand up, get up, volunteer at these organizations. There's just too much work for us to do. And you know what, guys? I cannot do it alone. My colleagues can't do it alone. We cannot do it alone. We need you to help us. Please help us.
I couldn't have said it better than you. We need funding, and it is a multi-sectoral approach. It's not just about giving us funds as in money. People could give in their time. People could give in-kind donation to shelters for children. If you have a passion for working with children, you could give your time to be one of the counselors, undergo training and be one of the counselors at Tears Foundation helpline. You could give your time to support and escort a victim of gender-based violence to court or to get support as they seek justice, as they seek healthcare. So there's a lot that we can do. Let's not limit ourselves to money. There is a lot that we can do as a community. I would like to read a slogan that you have for your 16 Days of Activism campaign this year. It says, no matter what we do, more campaigns, hashtags, marches, or another 16 days of activism, nothing seems to change. In fact, during lockdown, gender-based violence has gotten worse. So as the founder of Tears Foundation, an activist, an advocate, and someone who gets their hand dirty all the time when there are issues, I know this because I work with you. Every week I hear stories from South Africa all the way to different parts of Southern Africa. You know, you mentioned Namibia and Botswana. People are reaching out to you for help. What is so special about the campaign that you have this year? How different is your campaign this year from all the others?
I think we're real because unfortunately, we've come into a place in our country, South Africa, where people will have an event, a celebration for 16 days of activism. I'm asking you, how could you possibly celebrate 16 days of activism with a wonderful lunch and everybody dresses in their best clothes and we don't bring home the reality of the message? So I don't have a problem with the lunches and the dressing up, but I have a problem with the fact that it absolutely mutes that message. There's no ways those people are in touch with the reality on the streets. So one of the things is that we have to understand that rape hasn't got a color. Rape doesn't have a sex. Rape doesn't have a religion. Rape happens and people get so badly hurt that many of them don't ever recover. And when we have any event for 16 days of activism, the focus must definitely be at how can we help survivors get well. Our slogan is bringing hope and healing, because I know that for 10 years of my life, I couldn't function properly. After I'd been so badly waterboarded, I had to learn to drive again. I lost the ability. I'm a very accomplished woman. I've got a master's degree. I dealt at the highest level. I listed my company on the stock exchange. I couldn't function. I could not function. So every single day I wake up and I can remember how I felt. I will never try to purge that memory out of my mind, because it isn't a bad memory. It's a memory for us to remember and empathize with the women in our communities and our countries who are so badly hurt that they don't know how to pick their lives up again. And the system doesn't help them. So one of the things that we really have to do is, if we have a 16 days of activism event, we have to know at the core of this is bringing help to people. It's understanding. So I say to people, don't have a lunch. Take your people to work in a shelter. I've worked in a shelter. I know what it's like. And you won't ask that question, why doesn't she leave again? Because there are very few alternatives. Because living in a shelter is not a life of luxury. It's living in a dormitory style situation where everything you own is in a locker. That is not a life, ladies and gentlemen. That is survival. So we send them to shelters to survive, and then they leave more injured than they were, but alive. We cannot carry on making 16 days of activism support for the living dead. We have to help them to become new people that can grasp life in the same way as I learned to drive again. I remember that after my abuse, it was very bad. I had to learn, I couldn't walk properly because my legs had been hurt. And a friend asked me to go to the UK for a few months. I'd worked with her. She knew I was accomplished, which I wasn't at that stage, but it was an encouragement for me. And I was in Cape Town to get my flight. And I walked around one of the big shopping centers there, and I went into a makeup shop. And I said to the lady, I have been hibernating for a while, and I know that I don't know how to do my makeup. And would you give me a lesson? And they charged for a lesson, so they gave me a lesson. And they got a piece of paper out that had a face on. And she said, well, if I put red on your lips, you take red and put it on this paper. So when you get home and you've got your paint by numbers kit, which is the name my friends called it, and you get home, you'll remember where to put it and how to put it on. So I sat there, and this beautiful young lady, she must have been 22, was putting the stuff on my face, and she said, I can't help you anymore. And I'm like, but aren't you going to give me the whole lesson? She said, I can't help you because every time I put the makeup on your face, you cry so much the tears are washing off your makeup. And I wasn't in a place that I was going to tell her that I was an abuse survivor. But I realized that day that if I didn't make decisions in my life, I was flying to England, but it was taking a lot of guts. I felt like crawling into a space and never getting out. But I was taking all my courage and going to stay with my friend in England, who I'd stayed with many times before, but not as a survivor of abuse. And I realized I had to get a new attitude. So my attitude is representative by my crown. I'm a survivor, and I get up every day, and I love my life. I'm a survivor of abuse, and you know what? I'll share that message with you. You can become a survivor. You can help people. You can help people that are survivors in your church group. You can help people on the taxi. You can help people in your company, because the figure, as I said earlier, is 1 in 4. So I give all my talks with my crown on, because I'm proud of my journey. Didn't hobble me, yes, for a time. The difference in my life is that I made the decision with the counseling that I got, that I would take responsibility for thriving and growing. And that's what we try to do at Tears. We try to teach people the skills to grow into their new situation. You know what? Your heart will always be broken. It will never go away. But what happens is you have your broken heart, but the rest of you can grow much bigger, so your broken heart part becomes so small. And so some of those lessons we try to convey to people. And sometimes it's just a kind word. I actually ran the lockdown services for Tears for 5 months, nearly 6, at home. Yes, we had our office open the weekend. I took every single call, because I determined that on my watch, no person was going to go unhelped. So I'm urging all of you, put your arm around someone, tell them they're not alone, ask them if they're fine. You know what they always say, ask your strong friend if she's fine, because it's your strong friend who might be breaking. So one of the things with 16 Days of Activism, we have to understand that platform is there for us to recognize that there are problems in our world, not have a party, not have a day off. It's to reach out. I started off by saying you could work in a shelter, but you know, your police station, they need you. There are people who go in there and don't get helped. Take bottles of water, reach out. I'm just urging you, help people. They need to be helped.
I love your crown. It's a crown of a survivor. It's a crown of a champion for women and girls around the world. Thank you, Mara. What message do you have for individuals, for nonprofits, for governments who would like to participate? And how should they participate in this year's 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence?
I think it's very important that one of the single biggest problems around the world is education, because people don't want to talk about the hard issues like what is consent. And so one of the campaigns that I'm suggesting to people is that on their pay slips, that's for companies, they put a helpline number. So that if you, because we know that on paydays when people have drink a little bit too much, or the husband has spent all the money gambling and comes home and there's no food, people are distressed. So if you put a helpline number nearest to you, wherever you are, if in South Africa could use ours, but in every country in the world this applies, put that on. Start a pay giving situation for your staff so that they could become involved in supporting venues. Find out from your staff, because the very interesting thing is, 2 Saturdays ago, I was training at one of the police stations in South Africa. We had 5 organizations represented, and people don't get heard. Listen to someone. Have a discussion forum at your work. It doesn't have to be heavy. You can have a facilitator. If you do any kind of sales, you've got a facilitator. Let him or her have upskilled and learn, because people want to be heard. People want to know that their problem matters to you, and have a discussion forums. This campaign that we're doing now, I had sent the people that are doing it for us pro bono a letter saying, you know, things like women earn 18% less than men. So they have less disposable income. And what they did is they got all their interns. They have interns, and most of their interns were Black. And these points were what the Black girls really thought. And I just absolutely love that. So develop a platform for your staff to be valued and have input, because who knows, maybe when they have to report something, because one of the things we deal a lot with is sexual harassment in the workplace. Make sure that you've got a proper committee for that. So what I'm actually saying is it's not one idea, do this or give that. I'm saying get your eyes on 16 days of activism and what is the message and how can I change things in my office. If there's a person who's sexually harassed, who do they go to? Is it a male personnel director? Is it a friendly person who's listening to them? And you know, I think we need to gender lighten or gender empower all of our structures. So we need money. As we see is the slogan, money is very necessary, because my staff have families and children and whatever, and even though they're prepared to work all hours of day or night, it doesn't pay the rent. But not only that, we need to look around with new eyes. You know, I had a discussion not long ago with someone who felt that equal opportunities for men and women were very important. And the context was mining. Well, these women go underground and they get raped underground because they have equal opportunity of getting the job, but they all get in the same shift, in the same dark underground. And I think we've also got to use common sense. Maybe we put all the women together on a shift with a supervisor. I just think we have to gender friendly this stuff, and knowing that we all have different roles in society. It's not a shame to have all women together. Let's protect the woman. And again, I just want to go back to, you know, in schools, I just spoke about in offices, when people come forward and their child has been abused, and there's so many ways in our world of abuse, because kids are looking at pornography and they're copying them. 7-year-olds are doing it to 8-year-olds. It's horrifying. And when you go to the school and you say it's inappropriate, they just lift the corner of the carpet and try to swish it all under. So if you're in the school with your child, pull it out. Let's just be talking about it. Your child won't know good touch and bad touch if you don't tell them. Give them the password. They need a password if someone comes and says, I'm taking you home. So I'm actually saying 16 days of activism to me speaks about, let us understand the problems in every realm of our lives. Let's look at it with an eye that says, well, you know, maybe in a taxi, the woman should be able to sit in the front seats, not squash up to some guy they don't want to be next to. And so we need to be revisiting every single aspect of our lives as we embrace 16 days. And that's not dressing in your best and tucking into a big fat meal. That is actually receiving the message of 16 days of activism in your heart and acting it out.
Thank you so much. That is very much in line with what the UN Women have called for this year's theme, which is Orange the World. Fund, respond, prevent, and collect. I know you collect data, you have shared some of it with us. However, in these 16 days of activism in South Africa, you have a special call for a multi-sectoral approach in responding at all levels, whether it's government, corporations, and even within the communities, in the homes, and even in the schools. Thank you so much, Mara. It has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you here today on the 25th of November, which is the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women. I couldn't have chosen a better guest than you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline. But I want to thank you. When I first started Tears, I had the passion, I had the business training, I had the determination. I'm an activist for women, but I didn't have a mentor. And I love that you came into my life and stood next to me. And you became that person who, you know, sometimes I don't need your advice. I just need to know that you are there for me. And I want to thank you for that special gift of always being there for Tears over the years that we've worked together. You are an amazing woman. That's a champion for NGOs. And I just want to thank you personally, because I know often it costs you. You work through the nights, you do above and beyond because you're so passionate. You will check a document when you should be sleeping or on a plane traveling. I know you, Carolyne, because you are a gift from God. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are honored to work with you. We are honored to work with you and many other organizations in South Africa, and today specifically for the elimination of gender-based violence or violence against women and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here today. We are calling out on you to contribute in any way you can, whether it's through your financial support or through your time, which is in kind, or even through provision of commodities to any organization of your choice that is contributing to the elimination of violence against women and girls around the world, because we are making this world orange. We are funding, we are responding, we are preventing, and we are collecting data to make the world a better place. As we come to the end of our show, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We invite you to share this specific episode so many who may not know what they can do about the elimination of gender-based violence in their own communities can find a reason this year to do something. Thank you so much. It's all about connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives.